bad. It's
All views expressed by the hosts and guests in this podcast are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of their respective employers. Guests and hosts may maintain positions in the assets discussed in this podcast. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing in the podcast is intended to be financial, legal, or even life advice. GM folks, welcome back to More Than Speculation. And today's episode, just right before the holiday, we have a special guest, Raul from Shogun. So before we go deeper into sort of like what Shogun is and what Raul is, this guy is probably one of the main character on CT. I'm not sure if you love that term, but like one of the main trading characters on CT in the past couple of quarters. He's been a strong advocate for a lot of like the trenches, the meme tradings, but also building a great product at the same time. So let's bust right into it. We'll start with the rapid fire questions before we get into the background of Raul and Shogun. I'll pass it to you, Lambo.
All right. First question. Community, tech, or token price?
Token price.
How to be early?
Having the right network, being in the right chats, and just constantly being online to form your own thesis.
Biggest surprise this year?
Sorry.
Biggest surprise this year?
Probably the AI agents and that whole meta. I think everyone knew crypto cross AI was going to be big, but I think no one really saw sort of the agents and the related tokens doing as well as they did.
100%. Any prediction for next month?
Next month, I think the market keeps running, whereas a lot of people think once Trump, is in office, we kind of like just crash for a while. But I think we keep running.
How do you separate good and bad memes when it's early?
Yeah, that's a longer conversation than a rapid fire question. But I would say distribution and like the sentiment. If you have a lot of people on CT ignoring it, and then after that you see some hatred towards it. And then acceptance. Like that's usually the sort of sequence.
Oh, thank you.
Got it. Yeah, so I mean, let's jump right into it. Let's get the basics right. Who are you and what is Shogun?
Sure. So yeah, my name's Rahul. Twitter name is TopG. And so my background is in primarily investing. So I've worked at various crypto hedge funds prior to crypto, which I joined 2020. I was a strategy consultant at PwC, so I've actually been what they call a wage cuck for like 10 years. I've went halfway through my master's in finance, worked at corporate America life. And then in 2020, I joined a family office as my first foray into crypto. And then while at the family office, I did a summer analyst program with Hartman Capital, which is like a hedge fund in Miami. I also worked at Republic. And then, I've been part of various like investment DAOs, just constantly networking with like different ecosystems, different traders. I've just been constantly plugged in for the last 4 years. And so I started Shogun as a first founder in late 2022 through an incubator called New Order. They've incubated like Grass, a lot of other like smaller bear chain projects as well, like Y2K Finance. So they're very good at DeFi, and obviously Grass was like one of their big, deepen projects, and of course us, Shogun. So I was the first founder there, and eventually I linked up with the two other co-founders, Brandon and Roland, and so my passion has always been sort of investing, and I guess like I don't know if we want to jump right into this, but I've seen for a long time now what doesn't work through like the fund managers, other analysts that I talk to. Obviously being part of last cycle, fading things like Cardano and Doge, and just being very sort of fundamental tech driven. Also having a background as a strategy consultant, you look for like data driven, points for your thesis and stuff. So I had to really deprogram myself into thinking more left curve or thinking more like retardedly, or so yeah, like that has really helped. And I don't think I would have done that had I not gone through all the experiences I did of, you know, being mid curve and working for other funds that have that kind of like approach to investing, right? And so yeah, like that is how I formed my edge. And like what Marco said, I don't think I'm the main character at all, or I've done very well the last couple quarters. I think it's an element of me being in the right place, right time, and what I mean by that is like the market conditions, right? If you put me like I know some traders are very good in the bear market because that's where fundamentals do matter. And then there's traders that can do very well in a bull market. And I haven't really changed much from the bear to bull. I've always been like an insane sort of psycho when it comes to like sizing things up. And, some of my friends call me like the in real life Mr. Yuan, which is kind of like a niche term, meaning like, you just go to the table and you lay it all up and go all in. And like if you do that at the right place, right time, which I did with a lot of the coins like Mudang and Skibbity and Luce, and a few others. Yeah, that has worked out because that was right as this so-called meme coin super cycles was starting to take off. But the nice thing is I also don't overtrade because I've had the experience of trading too much, the past few years and chopping yourself up. And the family office I worked at, they really drilled that into my head, and I saw that firsthand with their execution. They made less than 10 trades a year. So they really sized up Ethereum in March 2020, and they got out in April 2021. They missed like the second leg of the last bull run, but they really killed it that first half or that first run up from March 2020 to April 2021, and they barely traded. Like it was just more like just you stay plugged in the coins you're in. You look at the catalyst, you look at the sentiment, and then if you're gonna get out, like you have to think 10 times. Like, okay, do I pull? Do I pull the trigger here? Because you don't want to like dance between the raindrops, as they say. So yeah, like that's the other kind of strong point of my style is I don't overtrade. Once I get in, I'm gonna ride the volatility, and it's tough to do with meme coins, especially. But you once you see like, for example, let's say like Popcat, right? I think it launched in like December 2023, so last year. If you look at that chart, it's had multiple 80% drawdowns
Yeah.
on the way up
Yeah.
to whatever 2 bill, right? And I was looking at the chart earlier today, and like, I could be wrong, but I think Popcat probably goes to 990 million before it goes to like 3 billion. Because that's just like that just seems to be the way these charts like sort of react. It's designed to shake out impatient traders. Let me pause there because I think I just threw a lot.
No, that's
No,
cool. That's cool, man. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I feel like I'm a listener in the podcast, But but yeah, all right, all right, all right. All right. So quick TLDR. It sounded like size of trade, don't overtrade, have convictions. Um, all right, I have some questions to plan before here, but let's scratch that. All right, can you talk me through maybe some of your trades before on your thoughts on execution? Like like a lot of people say that, right? But they don't mean it. But obviously, like a trader like you, uh, and sounded like you don't mind sharing everything. So like, I would like to pick your brain on this.
Yeah. So sorry. What was the question?
Um,
What is?
the actual execution of certain trades, or I understand your framework, but how would you actually see it, like bit by bit? Let's say certain MCAP, how much you've gone in. If it goes down, but the catalyst is the same, do you double down? Like when you say don't overtrade, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So, all right, I'll give you examples of the different trades I've made. So I've had a lot of big trades, like especially in April and like the first half of this year. So Costco hot dog, I basically round tripped, and what I
Yep.
mean by that is like I got in, 300K market cap. It hit 100 mil twice, and I didn't sell. And so, yeah, I didn't fully round trip, but I probably did like a 30x, whereas I could have done like whatever 200x, right? And so, you could take that and be like, all right, next time I hit one of these, I'm definitely selling, at whatever 100 mil. And then same thing happened with Aura, and finally I got around to Mudang, right? And I just knew like if I sell at 100 mil, it's going to be very early because I saw something like Billy, for example, which is not really a popular dog. It seemed like more of a kind of a CT Cabal play, but it was a cute animal, and it had potential after the price went up, and price leads to whatever the narrative. But I saw Mudang, and like it was basically very viral. And I said, okay, well, it could at least hit in comparison to like what Billy had done. But then you had all these like consumer brands and sports teams and government agencies all kind of ride the Mudang hype and use it for engagement. So I said, okay, well now this is something much bigger. So yeah, I held on to that, and that was when I got in at 300K market cap. I bought some more just for marketing purposes because at one point I was a top wallet. This wallet labeled Shogun Fucks got sold. Uh, so for marketing purposes, like there was another whale that came in and bought more, and then like we were kind of having a pissing contest, and so so I bought some more there, but so that's one example of okay, I got in early, I'm just going to hold because the momentum is growing and like the engagement is growing, and so yeah, that's that. Now you have something else like Luce, which I did not get in that early. Like my first buy was 7 mil, and the thesis was that okay, well CT loves this because it looks like a milady, and you have a bunch of potential marginal buyers because this is being pushed by the Vatican, and it's a wholesome meme as well. Whereas
Okay.
like the retardio and milady stuff tends to be like schizo racist, and that limits its potential, right? And so yeah, I top lasted that, bought between 7 mil and like 20 mil, went up to 100 mil. Okay, and I was like celebrating, looked like a genius, whatever. And then it dipped down all the way back down to 20 mil, and I kept buying the whole way, and I kept sizing more. And so I eventually ended up, maybe I shouldn't say the percentage, but let's just say close to
Yeah.
2%. Um, and yeah, like that was one where I was buying all the way down, and like yeah, it could have just died off, but I just knew that it had that profile of this is gonna reach further than like the CT bubble, because like it was being pushed by like non-crypto zealots, right? And so yeah, and then it ended up running from 20 mil to 300 mil. And then I got Bybit, and like now it's at a dip. But I think that's another one that can still do like a 5-10x being conservative from the 100 mil market cap. And then you have to identify like so what was unique about Mudang and Luce is they look like category leaders, right? I
Mm.
know there's been a bunch of animal coins, but Mudang, based on the stats, it had like the most amount of X posts at the time, and like just broke all stats of virality, right? And then Luce was like almost like the first big religious coin. And so yeah, they're both unique in some sense, and they didn't feel like they were derivatives or beta to anything. And that's also like one of my core principles is don't hold beta derivative plays for too long, and if anything, don't even get into them because it's just like statistically speaking, it's not a game you want to play because you're not going to be able to time one as a top right for that. Whereas with the category leader, you can just hold indefinitely and ride the volatility, and it's just going to keep making new highs as long as the cycle runs. So Pesto, the penguin, was one where I first initially rejected. I was like, I'm not going to buy this because despite Time Magazine and BBC News and others comparing it to Mudang and like posting about it, I said it's a second mover, and at that time I think it was like 5 mil, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm good with my Mudang bag. But then it dipped to like 1.7 mil, and then I went really heavy because I saw it getting more traction on social media, and I said this is a Cope Mudang play, but I knew that it wasn't. It was never going to reach Mudang levels. So at that time, like you just kind of know, being in the market, that 10 mil, 25 mil, 30 mil are going to be resistant points. And so I ended up buying a bunch at like 1.7 to 2.5 mil, and then sold out of all of it at between 20 and 25 mil. So that was like one of my best executions. And like I just knew the sort of the meta at the time, where, or at least like the resistant levels based on how much liquidity is in the market. Like these coins will hit 25 mil and they'll top out. And sure enough, I think it did. I don't know where it's at now because it's off my watch list.
Would you?
So yeah, those are
What about
examples.
Frick, the Korean frog? The Korean frog. Oh, is that too live right now? All good, by the way. All good.
No. I really like Frick. So that was one where, again, I wasn't early. Like, actually, my first buy was maybe 17, 18 mil, and it dipped all the way down to 4 mil. I kept doubling down. And now I think this morning it was like 23 mil. And now it's just going to keep going, in my opinion. What I like about Frick is, if you, well, first of all, like whoever the team is, they struck a deal with the artist, clearly, because the artist is promoting the coin.
Mhm.
And that's a big factor, because even with
Yeah.
Luce, some exchanges are saying, like, I know I got Bybit, but there's other big exchanges that are saying that we're not really sure if the artist is gonna, come after whatever the meme. And so you don't have that problem with Frick, which is great. And then the artist itself, if you go on, I don't know if it's a he or her, but their Instagram, um, there's a lot of engagement with that art. Like,
Yeah. A lot.
it almost like reminds me of like greeting card art, or it's like it's something you can easily shoot a text in like WhatsApp or WeChat or whatever, as like sort of like emojis or short animated gifs. And so yeah, I saw it already had normie traction. The art is wholesome, cute, and it could be used as memes, like, like good night, hello, whatever, right? And then they had struck a deal with the artist. And now I don't know how much merit there is to this, but I heard that like the FOG folks are kind of running the show. And I saw Cole Ethereum, who I guess apparently is also behind FOG. He was the guy that originally owned Pudgy Penguins. He follows the Frick
Oh,
account as
cool.
well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So so I'm kind of piecing that together. That's more speculative. And actually, if you look at Fog, it also looked bundled and whatever, right? Like it looked like the distribution wasn't great, but it still ran, because there are some
Mhm.
teams that just kind of know how to run a meme project, and they've got supply cornered, not necessarily to dump, but to give to sexes, market makers. Whereas like in Mudang, it's so organic that the team is often coming to someone like me, or even with Luce, right? They have to come to me to ask for donations to give to, like, whatever sexes and market makers. And so that, yeah, being too organic, unfortunately, can also hold back a project, because you just have a bunch of
Interesting.
like, traders that just got rich, and like this is all they have, like that's their livelihood. And then now, but most sexes and MMs are like pay to play, and so that can also hold back a project. Um, but yeah, with something like Fog, and like I don't know, if, maybe yeah, like let's say Fog, they've got probably some supply cornered where they can take care of these things because they've thought about it. So it's a fine balance, like I don't know what the right answer is. Um, but anyway, that's to say that, because some people look at the Frick chart and they say, all right, well, this is clearly like bundled, or there's supply control. That's not always a bad thing.
Mm.
It is a bad thing in the Hoptua coin, but not necessarily like for Frick.
Yeah.
So
Mm. All right. Yeah, because I
Got it.
got
Got it.
shacked out.
Dude.
Because I got shacked out, and I was like, oh, the NFT, because they did an NFT before, and it was wrecked. So I was like, oh man, it must be like just the same guys running the playbook again. I didn't see the connection that you mentioned. I was like, all right, I was worried about the overall, and I just kind of just jitched it. I just stopped loss there.
yeah,
Oh, this was
uh,
for like Frick. They had
Yeah,
like an NFT back then.
yeah,
I
because
didn't
like,
know
Ah,
that.
got it. Got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So my girl actually reads a bit of Korean, and then and then I got her to like all that Korean trip holiday money spent well spent, right? And then and then like she was checking all those kind of shit, and I was like, oh man, the memes are not doing that well. I let me just jit at like 20% stop loss, and then cause the NFT I was like, I didn't know, I can't be bothered to look at it. Then I saw you posting it, I'm like, oh man, and then like yeah,
Dude, I thanks for breaking that down. I want to ask one quick follow up, man. Like it to me, it seems like one of your skills and like your style is that you identify memes that might become popular with people outside of CT, right? Which there are folks like him, who's like focusing on like AI agents, and even
Mm.
like Murad, I would say like his list is very very CT centric, right? It's like you
Yeah.
have to be like the 20,000 power users to kind of know what they're saying about. Is that kind
Yeah.
of by design, or like is that just like a personal thesis that you think in the long run these sort of like more mainstream potential memes are, like there's more likelihood that people outside of crypto would buy it, so the exit channels are better, than just like all of us PvPing each other. Well, what's your thinking there?
Yeah, there's definitely an element of okay, well, if CT native memes, they tend to have a lot of PvP, right?
Hmm.
And so I mean, so does something like Mudang because I think like people see the value, like this could be whatever the next should. So you have like a bunch of chains trying to vampire each other, but that's besides the fact. Like you got to think to your like about yourself when you first got in the space. Like what coins did you
Hmm.
buy, right? You weren't like like what can you grasp. I don't know if like retail is going to come in and figure out the difference between goat and zero bro, but they will laugh at fartcoin, right, and they'll buy that. And so yeah, I think like now the tools in this cycle, they are better for new users than they were last cycle. So, like you download Phantom, which is like number two or
Hmm.
something in the US App Store. And you look at, okay, I'm going to present you Retardio, this like clown looking thing that's like, you know, it's using like an offensive word, which like retard is pretty offensive
Yeah.
still in the US. Or, this like pygmy hippo, which I've seen on social media, and people are saying that okay, like this could be like another Doge. I might throw a few bucks in that versus Retardio, right? Also, like I think back to myself last cycle. I thought Cardano was like the dumbest thing, but it definitely outperformed my portfolio because it just um, it tapped into like the cult aspect better than, and it's like it was tech driven too, right? Like whatever it wasn't. I know you may think it's vaporware, but it talked about tech and
mm,
being the next Bitcoin, right? And then same thing with Doge, like Elon Musk pushing it. I faded Doge all the way from below a penny to like 70 cents, and yeah, that's easier to grasp, which is why like all of CT didn't get the XR, they didn't hit the XRP trade, right?
mm,
Because now XRP is something that's been around for a few cycles. It's on all these exchanges, and they had done the work in earlier cycles to form that cult, which now that cult spreads to their friends, families, whatever, whoever strangers they talk to. And that's like one of the, I saw a tweet of some guy like shilling this alchemy AI coin to his friends, but all they wanted to talk about was how do I buy XRP and Mudang, right?
yep.
Um, so yeah, like I think we are in our like little echo chamber in CT, and we think that the way we think is exactly how like the newcomers will come in and think, and but it's like we've been here for years, and there's a steep learning curve to have like our sophistication. But unfortunately, we're a much smaller market than the rest of the world. So the rest of the world is going to come in and say, "Oh, cute hippo, I'm buying," right?
Yep.
So anyway, like that's how I think about it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Like, yeah, I am, I feel very sidelined sometimes, or I feel very bridged out because I don't know, should I go for the deepest crypto thing, or should I go for the dumb thing that people buy, or how do I evaluate it? Because like it's hard. The flow is hard to measure right now because I don't think the flow, the general public flow is going to the other side as well.
Yeah, and like I got killed on the TikTok meta, to be honest. But I was positioned in Skibidi for since like April, and I've just been kind of patiently sitting on my bags. But yeah, like okay, you could have chopped yourself up in this TikTok meta, which I kind of did, but or you could have held on to what is like one of the main runners in Skibidi and like been patient. And I still so like the thesis that I apply with Skibidi, like if you try to apply that with what was this other one, prawn or something, I don't know what it's doing now, or mustard, right? Like those got like destroyed, and Skibidi's holding up and doing well, and like now that team has struck a deal with the main TikTok account that creates Skibidi content, and it looks better and better. So what I'm saying is like the same type of thinking you can apply to one coin and it works. But yeah, and then if you try to apply it to another like mustard and prawn, it may not work, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Nice. All right. Okay. I feel like I'm taking the show for my personal use mainly, but let's go back to Shogun. Let's. No, man, sorry, I kind of.
Yeah, I
I
was just
feel
I
like
was just gonna say I was just gonna
I
no
feel
dude,
like
I
I
was just gonna say
baited.
I had to be a good VC, man.
I feel like I baited you to come on to talk about Shogun, and then we just totally went from you. Quite. I'm sorry. Let me provide. But yeah, if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about Shogun and what should folks be looking forward to?
Yeah. So our first product is a trading app that has a Telegram UI, and so I believe we're the first to market where you could basically trade any token on any chain with a like basically like a Telegram bot. So I could trade one meme on Solana for another meme on Base. Right now, the networks we support are Ethereum, Base, Arbitrum, Solana. We got Ton and Sui next. I think I'm probably missing a couple. BSC is going to be an easy integration, but essentially, given the fact that we're all like living in Telegram and Discord, we decided, okay, like this will be the first sort of Trojan horse to gather a cohort of users, and we also have an alpha chat too. So the idea is, we've got this community of traders and VCs all in this chat. We share alpha, and then if we want to execute on something, it's like hopefully they just use the Shogun bot, right? And so yeah, well, then we got a mini app and obviously web app and mobile app on the roadmap. And then we also have a separate intense infrastructure team that is basically just put into place just now, and they're starting to work on more of the infrastructure stuff, which will be its own separate chain. That's like a reef state symbiotic network.
Sorry,
But
intent for meme coin trading.
I mean, like meme coins are hot right now, but yeah, it could be any asset like DeFi or yeah,
Understood.
deep in, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
how
so
does
to me, oh,
yeah, so how does that
go ahead, man.
differ from the user experience from a normal Telegram bot?
So we got so our whole thesis was capital rotation from the start, where we saw last cycle people are bridging to different networks just to farm, like the base layer. Now it's like farming points is the hot thing, but last cycle was more like okay, Phantom, Avalanche, Polygon, all these new ecosystems popped up. And you're scrambling around to bridge over and buy like whatever their Dex coin or meme coin. But that's a very clunky UX for most users. And what we wanted to do is simplify that, take away the frictions of gas, bridging, having multiple wallets. So the current the Telegram bot we have now is like it's got like a universal account almost. Like you have like your Solana, Ethereum, and Sui all in like one sort of UI. And so the bot will spin up the addresses for you, and you just have to like start at one point. So you could start on Sol or you could start on Ethereum, and then you could basically rotate. So you can have like gasless trades as well because we take care of the gas abstraction as well on the back end. But basically, yeah, you remove all like these infrastructure components and make it seamless for the user. Whereas, to my knowledge, right now, like Banana Gun and other bots, like they have different instances, so you have to like switch from the Soul version to the ETH version. At least last I checked, that was the case.
Nice. Uh, when can we start playing with the product? Actually, I'm quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, you could actually. So we're in open beta right now, and we're gonna finish out a couple audits, and then we'll remove the beta tag. But people have been using it, and yeah, we're happy to get you in.
I
So
signed
yeah,
up
like
today, actually.
okay, I'll let you listen to you as soon as we're done with the podcast.
I was just gonna say, like you're one of the few builders that like I think you're very in tune with the market, with the trenches, how capital is gonna flow. Kind of curious how you think about that because I know some founders would say, "Hey, I have no time to look at the market." Like is it really just different style, different preferences? It kind of depends on what kind of builders you are. I guess if you're like building a social
Yeah,
fi, doesn't
well,
matter as much. What's your mindset on that?
yeah, well, the nice thing is we have a very diverse team. So, I'm obviously not a developer or coder. My background has always been in like institutional investing. And then the others, like Brandon, he was head of product at Umi and he was a product manager at Amazon. And so he had a whole, like, a team of engineers that he's worked with for years that we brought on. And so yeah, like we have a diverse founding team, and so
Mhm.
they're focused on building the product based on my input or the trader's input, right? Um, so that's what makes a difference. Whereas maybe in other teams you have a composition of just purely builders, or maybe they're just purely
Right.
traders, and then they have a tough time evaluating who's a good engineer, right? So I think we
Mhm.
have that sort of rare combination of builders and like trader profiles. So yeah, I take care of more of like the BD aspect, and then Brandon and Roland, they take care of more of the like the actual building of the product. But yeah, we're very cognizant of what do the end users want, right? What are they into, and then try to incorporate that into the product as much as possible. And yeah, it obviously helps with this like trading, sort of history I have now. Like for example, some of the things we are cooking up are we're going to give ref links to select communities where I have like large holdings of Luce and Mudang, for example, Skibidi, right? We're going to give ref links to those communities where if those community members use the bot to trade the token, the fees we earn will give back to those communities. So that takes away the issue of them having to raise, or at least like it's a pool of money that they can use for sex listings and whatever, right? And it's not value extracted, or we could also burn those fees.
Mhm.
But yeah, like those are some of the cool things that we could kind of collaborate on. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have some of the trades that I've made and like also made some of the contributions I did to help those communities early on.
Nice. I mean,
So from a
One. Mhm.
yeah, I think this
no,
is
I was gonna say,
actually my bad, my bad. But yeah, I was just saying that, like, because a lot of project teams that are from two institution background or two product and engineer driven, they don't actually know their users. I think Hyperliquid is one of those
Mhm.
few teams that because they're actual users of the product, so it doesn't feel disconnected. And it's great that you have this diverse team to cover both the product side and actually understand the users.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think Hyperliquid has done an excellent job. I mean, they're at 14 bill now, right? Um, for a while, I think a lot of people were like kind of getting impatient and because they kept having these like points programs, but clearly, like it's probably one of the best executed airdrops. Um, yeah, like I think Hyperliquid is probably going to be one of the main chains or whatever products this cycle. Like that distribution matters a lot. If
Matters,
you
yeah.
get your community rich from the early days, then that's how you. There's no other way to build a sticky community besides getting them rich,
Yes,
early on. And so the other projects that are launching at higher FTVs, it's going to be a struggle to
100%.
replicate the same. Level,
Actually, now
right?
that we're on the topic in bootstrapping and growth hacks, do you think a new chain or a new ecosystem or a new project launching their own meme or NFT project works? Or like, what's your 2 cents on this overall topic?
I don't think there's a black and white answer. I think what I've seen is, founders will try to encourage that, where it's like, oh, we have like say, what was that, like that Dragon Ball Z coin? I
Yeah.
forget the name at this point.
Super Saiyan or something
Um,
like that. Yeah.
Super Saiyan, yeah, yeah. So like it's a flash in the pan. For the most part, I've seen it doesn't work. Um, like Injective also had like their cat coin optimism. I was in early in all of these, right? And so I know like Beamcat and on Beam Network, it can do well for like a few weeks to like a couple months, but it usually fizzles out. Whereas with Hyperliquid, I think like they have a product that most agents want, right? And they would use it for free, right? I know a lot of people like were farming points and whatever for the airdrop, but there was also a lot of organic demand for perps on long tail assets that you can't get on sexes. That's a product market fit, right? And so yeah, in that case, per can continue to do well and sort of meme itself into
I
existence.
yeah.
Where yeah,
Yeah, with Hyperliquid, I kind of mid-curve it all the way, like, cause like I was still in the stage where, cause so I'm a big Perkdex guy. I don't use a lot of Perkdex, but I'm a big investor of Perkdex and stuff. And I'm like, I've been through so much that I feel like UX and UI does not really matter. It's like everyone was want to use the product, but they don't care about the token, and I just kind of didn't, but I focused too much on it after. But like I think it's one of the cases where product actually made community on top of a little bit of money, on top of money as well, obviously.
yeah, 100%. I think Unibot was the same. Like that
Mm.
was a big when it first came out. It was a big convenience
Mm.
factor. I was making trades on the plane on my phone on like complete shitters, which I would not be able to do unless I was in front of my desktop with all my like setup and like Deck Screener and Uniswap and stuff, right? So and it wasn't like that great of a UX, but it was just first to market and it was a novel like use case. So yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Got
Before I
it.
jump into what do you think about so that I do this rating thing a lot. So I'm gonna tell you a few types of meme coin trading strategy. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. Just rate them from one to the lowest and 10 to the highest.
Okay.
Spray and pray every new type of coin. Let's say all the AI meta, just spray it. Whenever a new type comes on, just spray it.
AI specifically, I would say 3 or 4.
Uh, Tracking or smart money following.
2.
Following your favorite trader slash influencer.
5.
Uh, the go-to meme of each chain.
9. 10.
Pre-listing strategy. Basically, accessing like baiting on how much the coin will get listed, kind of thing.
7.
Hearing things from friends.
Hearing things from friends. 3.
I know,
Kind of
I
depends on the friends. Yeah.
no, bro. Don't
Yeah.
lie. I feel like most people I'm doing on the last strategy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, but I mean, I think. Sorry, I think I'm like lagging a bit because it's like raining quite heavily here. But I was just gonna say briefly before we maybe like wrap it up. But what's I guess like what's in the roadmap for Shogun and let's say specifically trading related first. I kind of want to get a sense of like from a high level, why do you think there are still such a limitations on moving money across multiple chains, and why do you have you decided that trading is the first barrier that we need to knock down? I guess.
Well, I think it's like one of the biggest use cases right now is, I mean, it's just speculation, right? Whether you're speculating on AI agents or meme coins, this time last cycle it was DeFi and whatever, DePIN, or NFTs, right? I think like you got to start there because that has the most demand. And if you can unlock those, use like if you can remove those frictions and make it easier, then yeah, you can unlock a lot of volume and stuff flowing through your platform. And then, yeah, in terms of our roadmap, so we're going to continue to add more networks that we think are going to be like hot for the cycle, including Ton, obviously Movement, Bera. Um, and I think we also have like some angels asking us to build with Hyperliquid. But yeah, and then the mobile app and web app are next. Um, and then eventually we'll have our own L2. But that's much further down the line. I think we could do a lot of damage with just a really good trading app right now, given like this meme coin super cycle and all this like heavy on chain activity.
Nice. All right.
Got it.
Before our
And
last
then,
question, is there anything you want to ask us? Actually,
um, well, actually, sorry, let me add some more. So we've also got a referling program. So we've got like about 20 mid-sized CT accounts, power testing our app right now. And then we're going to do up to 40% revenue share with, our partners. And that's not limited. Like, anyone can have a ref link. And so I think that's like one of the highest on the market. Um, so yeah, like that's going to be an additional sort of, go-to-market strategy. Um, that's also another way to sort of get the community rich, right?
mhm.
You really reward your early users. But yeah, okay. And then, so what questions do I have for you guys? I guess for you two Lambros, I've seen your account. What is like? Are you like a researcher, or like like do you work for a fund or?
I'm a fucking mess, bro. I'm a fucking mess right now. Like, so a little bit of my background, right? So I started dabbling around crypto in 2019. I like yield farming. I started yield farming. I somehow got into XC, understood the power of speculation and building a community. So I ran like a 300 people guild that I didn't raise a bullshit token on, and then just kind of like did a lot of like community building within my guild. We had like in-house tournament, all this kind of stuff. And then so there's two things I double down on is being early. So I try everything and I try to be see whatever has community. But that also made me heal through a lot of X's and because I know that as a Ponzi, so I don't just love the community, I can't understand the behind it. So I started shorting it as well. And that's what I started shorting around 80. I started entering around zero point 0.4 and started shorting around 80 and then I just kind of boom, zero and then like got liquidated around 140 kind of thing. So like um right now I'm a mess. Like I like fundamental stuff. I'm trying to tap into any new things like I'm used to, but at the same time, I don't know, is it like uh there's too much going on right now, or because I cannot read things, or it's not even features, it's not even how Ponzi it is, it's just pure how much people are buying what. It makes me very
Yeah.
lost. That's why I'm asking you so much questions because I'm genuinely lost right now. Yeah.
Well, well, okay. So one question I have started to ask some folks is, do you think the winners of this cycle are established? So, for example, like last month,
Hmm.
myself and a few other traders, which are relatively good, we've all got our ass kicked, like gambling on new stuff. So, yeah, like, are we at a point in the cycle where winners in their categories are established, and you're just better off sizing those up and doing like a 10, 15x even, right, in like the coming months? Or do you guys think there's going to be a new meta, a new goat type of coin or new Mudang that could, well, actually, like, let's forget memes because, like, chill guy or something like can pop up, right? But let's say like in like DeepIn and AI agents and stuff, like, do you think there's another 10,000x like goat, and then you just keep like gambling? Or do you size up something like Zero Bro and Goat and just kind of ride the 10x for the coming months?
I have been underperforming to most people comparison. So I don't think you should take my word seriously. I'm going to be very straight up honest. But I don't personally. I don't think the winners are set. I think
Okay.
I don't think the winners are set because it's unforeseeable in valuation with new territories. I don't think the alt markets are in. I don't think the new retail is in. So I think everything is new. Personally, I'm not sizing about too much things, but I'm gambling on good and risk and reward plays. Sound very mid curve, but I've been aping. So 2 weeks ago on another podcast with DeFi Man Show, I told him that I was doing a lot of BNB just because it's just cheaper, underperforming
Yep.
this kind of stuff. And right now I'm doing mental. I know that I will be underperformed by most people on CT, but this is just what I'm familiar with right now. And then I don't want to overtrade and force something that I'm not familiar into, and just earn some
Yeah.
gas fee while I still can until I understand the next big thing.
Sure. I don't
Yeah,
know. Mark.
my no, I was gonna say my read on that is I think the agents. I think we don't have a clear winner yet for the agents. I don't have any bags in virtuals. In fact, I miss them. Maybe one of my biggest fumble. But I kind of have a feeling that on the agent launchpad side, that's a little bit different. I think pretty much AI16Z and virtuals are going to be the top two. It's hard for me to see another suddenly, like VC backed
Yeah.
framework slash launchpad that's going to take that. But I think on the each individual agent, it's still very, very messy. In fact, I'm more aligned with you that I think the top players of the non-AI related memes are starting to look pretty clear. It's like maybe the
Yeah.
Mudang, the Lucia and stuff. It's starting to look pretty clear. The AI
Yeah.
ones, I don't think it's clear. I mean, maybe because Goat already took the reign, so there's not much room for anybody else. Yeah, but that's my read on it. Although I'm definitely also more with you that I feel that we continue to run until maybe Q3 or Q2. Yeah, like I think Trump's victory it was really like it's really a lot of funds were sidelined and then they jumped right in after his victory. So I felt like it's a delayed effect. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And then one
Yeah.
last thing. I top blasted XRP memes. So I'm like down pretty bad on that, but I think that there's still a good chance that they come back and like continue to like rip on a second leg. Because yeah, I think like that's one where most of CT is not paying attention. Like they don't really understand the XRP community and like how culty it is, right?
Mm.
The pushback on that is that XRP cult, they just want to buy and hold XRP and keep it on the sex. But I think that it's just human nature. You're gonna see stories of like Mudang and whatever, right? And they may want to get in on some action and gamble a little bit, but that's a lot of liquidity because it's like third or
Yeah.
fourth highest coin. So that's also something to pay attention to.
Thoughts on Flare?
I don't have thoughts on Flare.
Okay, okay.
I don't.
Uh, yeah, okay.
All right.
Uh, okay, sorry. I'm enjoying this conversation. Can we extend it a few more minutes?
No,
Yeah,
please,
I mean,
please. Okay.
Okay. I agree that meme coin sector right now is kind of set. Like the chill guy, blah blah blah. I mean chill guy, by the way. I'm kind of like chilling my bag. But like AI agents, I think we're still early. I but I don't know how far can AI agent launch patch can go. Just because that once AI agent is established, I think people
mhm.
will forget about launchpads. And AI agents, I think there's so far to go just because we haven't enabled spending, enable like token, enable like the mini games of it, those kind of things, which I think will be. You know
Yeah,
that coin we spoke about on cracking the AI bot last week, Marco? I can't, Fia, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
those are
yeah, yeah.
those are like very good use case on real actual AI agents where you pay people pay you to train your bot basically, right? And then I think once that comes out, people will might rotate our virtuals. And virtuals is a medium where people don't know what to long, but they long that right now because the feed and everything look good, right? Remember like Launchpad back in the days, like GameFi Launchpad, they don't know what to long anymore,
Yeah,
so they launched the Launchpad kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah. Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. I mean, like the whole premise of AI 16Z was also that they would argue that like virtuals is a closed ecosystem, right? So they were gonna like, hey, like if you go to us, you don't have to be under the umbrella, but that being under the umbrella is better for their tokenomics. So it's like this balancing act. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just lost. So if you guys got anything cool, ping me.
What do you think of
But yeah.
unit? Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, what? No, no, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what do you think about unit bias when it comes to memes? Like, do you think that's a
Oh,
myth? Do you think that some credibility? Like, obviously, like Pepe is doing very well, and I think Pepe is obviously like popular, but it's not as popular as like let's say like Doge, right? And um, but it has really good distribution. It's on
Yeah,
Robinhood, it's on all the major sexes. But yeah, I think like it looks cheap, and so
yeah,
I am kind of
mm.
concerned about pump fund memes, sort of looking expensive, but relatively they are cheap. So I don't know if you guys have thoughts on unit bias being a factor in some of these memes.
Yeah. Just a quick refresher for our listeners. Like unit bias just like basically means the price looks very cheap because retail doesn't understand market cap. So if they see like a 0.01, they think, oh, it might do 100x and go to $1, even though the market cap is already like 15 billion, right? So they have a bias in buying things that look cheaper. They're not going to buy a meme that's like worth like $100, even if the market cap is low. Um, I think there's some truth to it, but I think people are over exaggerating something like Pepe being benefited because of that. Because I feel like retail is also not as, I guess, as dumb as they were back in 2020. So they're not going to be like, oh, it's 0.000001. This is going to go 10,000x, right? Like, I think they've gone smarter than that, which in my opinion, the pump fund denomination is okay. Because if something is like zero point 0.1, like it's 100 million market cap, right? Oh yeah, it might go to one. And I think for most memes, hitting 1 billion market cap is enough. So I'm not too concerned about the unit bias. Yeah.
me too.
Makes
I think
sense.
it's a myth. I think people who don't understand that much wouldn't size too much of the portfolio, and in summary, the money wouldn't make sense anyways. Like the
Yeah,
total net inflow.
totally. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I enjoy my part. I do need to ask you to jump on the show later again, for sure. uh, and and all right, last questions. What do you think is required to make it in crypto?
um, Well, I think luck is definitely a factor. So like even like my story, I know many people that started out around the same time, and I think like so having a chip on your shoulder, like there's people that enter the space that have a profile of okay, like like my story was like I work at PwC, right? I always wanted to work at like McKinsey and BCG, but I
Mm.
was always like that sort of second tier Deloitte PwC guy, right? And so I've always had a chip on my shoulder when it came to like TradFi. And then I saw the opportunity in crypto where it's like more open. Those barriers were kind of like not there. And so if you have that hustle in you, you can, carve out your own path. And there's like less resistance, right? It's like, so you can kind of like make your own opportunities. So definitely having that hustle spirit, having a chip on your shoulder, and then yeah, luck is definitely a factor too. Like with some of the trades that like you could be early in something, and then having the discipline, like like I mentioned, of not overtrading and stuff. Um, that and then like once you become a whale, you are just infinitely more patient, and that also serves to your like advantage, especially when it comes to the trading aspect. And then on the sort of builder side, I think a lot of people in crypto are too schizo and like too short sighted, and they like start beefing with other projects, and like you kind of like will get like so like knowing how to play the politics, like just don't be an asshole, right? If you see other people grifting and scamming, and like you don't necessarily have to jump in and call them out, because I mean, you should, but at the same time, it's like you got to look at or don't fud other people's bags, because that's what I meant. Like you should, whatever. I'm grifting, scamming one thing, but try not to fud other people's bags, because that is how you can sort of shut a lot of doors. And so yeah, being shrewd politically certainly helps. Yeah, those are just some of the factors, I guess, is how you make it. And then obviously just being curious, always trying things. But like that's sort of cliche, you know.
No, that
Um,
I'm a full believer of that actually. But yeah. And yeah, thank you for your time today,
I'm
Raul.
just, dude. Yeah, like I'm just gonna quickly add, dude, this has been like when like we have a conversation with guests, it's like typically 30, 40 minutes, but I think this has been so much fun that we kind of took more of your time. So we really appreciate you for that. I think this has to be like a recurring segment, you know, you're gonna be like the third co-host at some point. But yeah, folks, check the show notes below. You can find Shogun at like Twitter at Shogun DeFi. And then yeah, please share all of the details that you have.
Yeah, for sure. We just recently changed our handle to gun.fun.
Yes. Oh,
So yeah.
Gun.com. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah, we've got an alpha chat too called Shogun Oakmont, where anyone's free to join and you can basically like talk the market, talk about what you're trading. And it's like just a hangout lounge for traders. So yeah, like those are a couple sort of social elements that follow our Twitter. We're churning out a bunch of funny memes and content all the time, and then the trenches chat as well. So yeah,
nice. All right, man. Good
All right,
chat.
folks.
Thank you
okay,
for your time
That's it.
today.
awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you guys.